So, hello everybody. Welcome to Lunch and Learn from Lean 42. I'm Fabian Kainzinger, working with Lean 42 as a consultant in enterprise architecture and also in CIO advisory. And yeah, today it's about the Rethink EAM conference, which took place in Berlin last week on Wednesday, on Thursday. And yeah, I just wanted to quickly share with you some of the insights I gained while I was at the conference. Yeah, Berlin, always a nice place, always worth the travel, and yeah, rather packed schedule. On the other hand, so there wasn't much time to do some sightseeing or so. Because the city was also very full. There was some other trade fairs in parallel, and yeah, Berlin is always full, but this was especially packed with people everywhere. Yeah, and a rather fully packed schedule at the conference. On the second day, the first talk started at 8 o'clock with the welcoming at 7:50 in the morning. Never had that. Rather early. Yeah, people were just hopping in then some minutes or even hours later. Overall, the conference started at Tuesday evening with an icebreaker session nearby the venue. The venue was a hotel near under the Linden, so very, very central, just a foot walk away from the gate, from the Brandenburg Gate. And yeah, so what's had the opportunity with this icebreaking session in the evening before to get to know some of the attendees and to exchange. There was also some topics presented by some of the partner companies where you can just drop by and exchange with your peers about a certain topic, or the rest is just have some drinks and to talk with other people. Altogether, there were 3 conferences in parallel, also about not only enterprise architecture, rethink enterprise architecture, but also about IT service management and IT infrastructure. So all people were in common at this icebreaking session. Also, during the conference, all the vendors were together in one room, so you could always meet people from the other conferences. We weren't able to find them in the app because it was technically another conference, but didn't matter. It was a little bit larger, the venue, the lunch you had, and all the breakout sessions, because there were several conferences next to each other in parallel. So evening reception, the ice-breaking session was rather nice. Not sure if we would attend it next time. But then conference started, and the keynote was done by Union Investment, and it was really, really rather interesting. It was about the IT strategy they newly set up. And it was driven by the architects, by enterprise architecture. And yeah, they had a lot of backup from the C-level, and they divided it up into 7 areas. The IT strategy, one was governance, IT risk and security, another one was costs and change. And there was also IT organization, employees and culture. And the main things were more like digital workplace, application development, IT operations, IT sourcing and cloud, IT architecture, and digitalization. So just to name them, what the areas were. And yeah, they were dividing the strategy from an architecture point up into these different topics, different areas. They had a lot of formats after they established the strategy. They worked on it with several leads, a lot of different groups, detailed it, and instead of having a very, very long document, they also, of course, noted down what the strategy would be for the next years in these 7 different areas. But there are a lot of different formats how to communicate them. So from town hall meetings, individual meetings, attending some group standard team meetings. Also, they had a kind of overall graphical image depicting in some words and some pictures, and with some people with bubbles and some key messages depicting all of the strategy in the different areas. Yeah, in German you call it a Wimmelbild. I'm not sure if there's an English term for that. So a lot of ways how they did it, a lot of ways how they communicated it, and this overall seemed to be very successful despite the other ways how they did strategy before, just to have a document and they distributed it, and it was 100 pages or so. So everybody was on it, and everybody was also following it and attending the Q&A sessions. And also, of course, they had a lot of management backup then, because the management wanted to drive the whole company in a certain direction. So it's all now in the strategy, and the strategy fulfills this strategic goal very, very well. Nice intro to the conference to see what enterprise architecture and enterprise architecture methods also, and also good communication, yeah, how you can foster your IT strategy. Next up, what I wanted to share with you was a little bit about SAP. SAP recently acquired LeanIX, one of the major tool vendors on the enterprise architecture market, and they gave a little bit an insight what they have been doing with LeanIX, not since they acquired it, but also for the 5, 6, or 7 years in the past. So they were, before they even started to acquiring it, a heavy user of the tool, and they have a lot of data in there. So yeah, more than 3,000 applications, and also more than very detailed 1,700 business capabilities, and a lot of other types of models. So very deep insight into their landscape, the overall SAP landscape, how they work, how the company works. Yeah, and of course, they're always transforming, and it's not only the S/4HANA transformation, the cloud transformation. They're establishing something for new markets, maybe new products, not only acquiring them, but also creating them. So there's a constant factor of transformation. And their main aspect was to have the business architecture, therefore a lot of capabilities they have, and also things like maybe business object, and also more on a top level above the business capabilities. They have enterprise capabilities, and this is always used to have a guidance, a framing where we want to do the transformation and how the transformation might look like. So they're using a lot of the tool features, but the interesting point was that it was heavily relies upon business architecture and the transformation tools. Some insights from Uniper. Uniper, like many of the others, was talking about their experience, how they did enterprise architecture, what was successful, what was not successful. So overall, the conference, as the title suggests, was really focused on enterprise architecture. And so with Uniper, they had a concept of EAM who centralizes on user and customer. So it's, of course, the end customer, but it's also, of course, the internal customer. And they had a lot of problems, like, for example, unclear expectations. What is the role of enterprise architecture? Outdated content. I think we all have seen that and know about this. Also, the EA perception wasn't good. Something like the guys up there doing some planning nobody really needs here. And of the user-centric concept and service-oriented concept, and we're doing a kind of reshaping of enterprise architecture, which was 7 main goals. Just to pick some, is, for example, the EA function got some more authority and also some governance. So it's clear what they do and what they are allowed to do. They also enhanced visibility and perception of EA, also a little bit like the union investment, like a lot of formats, a lot of talking venues, Q&A session, things like that. Also, they established communication platform and got into knowledge sharing, so that it's not only making the plans and have some blueprints, but also share architecture knowledge to everybody. And also communication and objectives was clear. besides informal communication, clear communication rules, when is architecture, enterprise architecture involved and when it isn't, and also has been made clear what the objectives of the group are. And that helped them really a lot. And one of the main things they had was an internal podcast for a lot of listeners where they talk about what they do and what they have achieved and what enterprise architecture is all about. Materna doing a lot of, I would say, transformation, digital transformation as a consultancy. And their main point in the talk was that it's not only about the tools can be used, but you need to have a certain way of thinking, also a certain understanding of a transformation process. The tool will help you with that, but without the understanding of the process and how to do that, you will be lost more or less. So they depicted a little bit what they usually focus on. So also they have business architecture as a kind of a frame. They look also into data architecture, application architecture, but they also have a look into governance. They establish usually a common language when they do a transformation project with the help of enterprise architecture. And also business process modeling might be useful. Maybe it's even there and you can use it in your transformation. And then you have not only the classical list of application of interfaces you need to migrate, but you have also some typical landscape diagrams, things related to the business architecture to plan and also to communicate the change that you're doing. Okay, something else quickly, the Austrian Postal Service gave an insight how they kind of reshaped the enterprise architecture domain. They had domain-driven design, big knowledge within their company, and also business capabilities. And they kind of joined us recently and had some new kind of domain definition. And for them, the domain thinking is one of the central things, the central assets within their enterprise architecture, and everything else, even capabilities and so on, are related to the domain. There's always a domain owner for these different domains, and this domain owner might not be one manager, might also be one employee, and do a lot of then communication also with the C-level and drive that domain further and think in the domain and not in other things like application portfolio or blueprints or so. And this is also something which a little bit mirrors what they do. They have sending out still and transporting letters. They have big boxes, things they ship. So they have different lines of business a little bit, and so also these domains focus on that, and this helps them a lot to get some speed behind their EA initiatives. So something else about EON. EON has divided up their landscape into rocks. They call it rocks, maybe because it's something that's heavy and not that easy to move. And they establish some procedure, some guidance, how to move rocks, so how to further develop your landscape and to get ahead and to fulfill the goals they want to have when they follow the energy transition. So a lot of things happens in the energy sector, new regulations, new systems connected. The grid is constantly changing, evolving, the energy grid. And so they kind of have a platform thinking within the enterprise architecture. And for moving certain rocks, they have some establish some procedures, some ideas how to do that in particular. So yeah, that's basically what they told. And yeah, then quickly C&R, the clothing company. Eva gave us an insight about their architecture governance and their mainly their transformation, the focus they have on the transformation. So we are following within C&R from the architecture point of view, following 4 general areas of the transformation. It's the agile transformation. Then they have a digital strategy, which they follow. They have then, of course, some modernization, tech stack modernization. And also, last but not least, and this is quite important, they have culture and engagement and some improvements there, and also not keeping inside, not neglecting what the culture is, and that the company, not only on the way we work, but the company itself also needs to develop. For this, they developed several architecture services and also had architecture governance in place. Architecture services, things like, so they set up an architecture vision, they manage the architecture portfolio, they follow the digital strategy, or they implement an architecture roadmap, or they define a target architecture. So it's one of the things we at Lean 42 also do quite often, that we have, if it's a more mature enterprise architecture team, we talk about services, what services the architecture team provides to the rest of the company. And C&R is a perfect example. They set it up. They have 7 or so, if I'm right, central services, maybe broken down in smaller things, what they do for the company on a regular basis. And these services have defined endpoints, define what they do and what they produce. And with an underlying governance for the EA team, this has proven to be very successful for them. So covering the transformation, certain aspects, certain areas of the transformation with architecture services, and then having a governance underlying was really successful for them. Quickly on to the second day. As I already mentioned, started very early, 7:50 in the morning. One of the talks I wanted to share some insights with you was from Krishnan from MediaMarkt Saturn. I think it was at 8:30, not the first one, the second one on the day. And he's the head of global enterprise architecture at MediaMarkt Saturn, and he shared some insight how, from an architecture point of view, and also from within their group, they foster AI experience and they drive the AI adoption throughout the company, throughout the corporation. And how did they do that? So they had an overall high-level framework in place, which evolved over time, and where they had certain elements in there which should also be checked. And this was something like, what is the legal layer? What is the security layer? How to orchestrate it? What is the presentation to the end user? Is it a chatbot? Is it a voice bot? Is it something internal for customer service? Is it something more about financials with numbers? And also, what is the underlying technology? What is in there? Some data storage? Is there ChatGPT, or is there some other technology involved? So how is this all orchestrated? How does this certain AI application come together? This has evolved over time, because what they did was, first of all, they, after establishing this kind of project or program, they collected a lot of ideas from all the colleagues throughout the company. And so they got more than 100 really actionable ideas how AI may be incorporated into MediaMarkt Saturn. and they prioritized them, then kind of related them to the framework, and then kind of executed some of them. Some of them are already live. They have, for example, a chatbot, conversational AI, which you can ask anything about, maybe products, also store, where is it, opening time, things like that. But it's in 120 languages, so quite a unique thing. Other things are still under evaluation or in a prototype phase or in a proof of concept phase. For example, they do financial forecasting with AI. This was an idea from the financial department to have more and better forecasting about the numbers. And also they have an internal work placement enhancement where they test several things for the internal workplace, how AI might support it. Yeah, very interesting and good to see how, from an architecture point of view and with some architecture methodologies and structure, this AI program initiative, how you might call it, is steered and is then also really good executed and has a lot of results that are already visible to the users, internal employees, or even the end users, the customers of MediaMarkt Saturn. Quickly, let's have a look at the time. Yeah, trusted advisor and consultancy gave some insights, more technical, how to and why to, first of all, modernize applications, what the different approaches were. And yeah, this was also architecture related, something we also encounter with our clients. Don't just say we modernize it or we don't modernize it. We have a certain use case needed to implement. Make up your mind how to do that. Is it, yeah, will you move to a new system step by step, or is it an in-place modernization? How to do an in-place? And a common thing, and they also acknowledged that and talked about that, was splitting up into microservices or into smaller services and gradually modernizing them or building new functionality into microservices. So if you have an old system which might be monolithic, this might be a good way to do this, and also always accompanied by architecture. And then again, business value important. So when they have a map and an understanding of the big old applications, also different layers in there. Yeah, of course it's important to see, because they're working really technical and also into coding, how every interface or every component or every subroutine even works together with another subroutine. But it's also important to have the business view. What are the different functionalities that are provided by this application? What are the different interfaces to the user? What is the technical base? They are often very diverse, and a lot of databases, for example, connected to that. Hapag-Lloyd, also more on the realization side, what they gave us as an insight from architecture point of view. They had a big modernization project. They hired a lot of internal developers, application developers, software engineers, and they step by step modernized their big internal monolithic application. And yeah, some insights they gained was a little bit, some of the function points and how they estimated what the effort for certain parts were. They had a more modern version or more custom version, how they did the estimation with automated enhancement points, how to do that. And also they gave us some learnings about, to have some feedback, quarterly feedback, for example, to all of the different product teams. There were many different product teams working in parallel. And also they had some KPIs in place, not on a weekly or monthly basis, but on a quarterly basis. And also fostered a little bit exchange and so on. And overall, with these kind of measures, this was an success for them to doing this big transformation. So last but not least, Thomas, Chief Enterprise Architect at Mercedes, gave an insight. It was remotely done because his schedule couldn't allow for Berlin. He's Stuttgart, based in Stuttgart, of course, and gave some insights how the architecture, working model, enterprise architecture of Mercedes looks like. So they have a lot of agile aspects integrated into it. So they do not only focus on models and technology, they also have a constant alignment. Transparency is very important to them. So more or less everything is public within the company. They try to establish end-to-end views, which the business is easier to understand. They also have a lot of self-organization within the teams. They have squads and tribes which take care of different aspects of the architecture, and then they have also, within these squads, they also have, well, besides them, they have expert groups taking care about certain aspects of the architecture, also with people from different parts of the company within there. So it's always a little bit broken down structure, very open and very result orientated, and also very communication orientated. And the communication also shown they do this internal conference, Hey Architecture, with a lot of participants. It's a little bit on-site and a little bit virtual, where everybody who does architecture can come together for, I think it was 2 days or so. And this is a huge success, which also helped them to drive architecture itself, because also within this squad and expert groups and things like that, and value streams also where they took part. The attendance wasn't that good at first, but after they were very open, produced results, more and more people came back and joined them and see, okay, this is a place where I can provide some knowledge, some insights, but also which is something where I really get value from being part of that squad and sharing architecture knowledge and some common understanding within the overall Mercedes group. So that's it, more or less, very fully packed 2 days, a lot of talks ongoing, but in between there was also 2 kind of breakout sessions where you could jump from one stand within the exhibition to another, not from the vendors, but it was also with experts from the company who gave the talks. So it was a little bit like having a certain topic, and for example, for 2 or 3 hours, and every half an hour you could switch, or you should switch, jump over to another topic. So a smaller group of the participants could talk about a certain topic and give some insights. And so the topic would be further developed over the time, and at the end, each of the topics, they shared some of the results which were developed previously within 4 or 5 different groups of people over several hours. And topics were great range of topics in there. For example, one of them was how to establish an overall architecture guidance with a very with a larger corporation with a lot of subsidiaries, which are a little bit more autonomous than the standard subsidiary would be. What is a good way to have an overall architecture guidance within that, for example. So these were some of the topics in the workshops, and this was really good, really interesting, because it was more on the workshop side, not only listening but giving you insights. Smaller group of people, maybe 10 or so, just, and you can really talk and deep dive into topics and get to know your peers better. And it was also interesting for me to share some of the insights, not as a representative from a company, but from a consultancy, to see what we already also do within our project, what we've learned from customers, what we always try to tell people and to help them with. Okay, I think that's it more or less on the point, 1 o'clock. Thanks everybody for listening. Should you have any questions, just contact me via LinkedIn or some other method, and was happy to have you here at the debrief of the Rethink EAM conference. Rethink EAM conference. Nice weekend. Have a nice weekend.